We've got the Hobby Boss M35 Medium Panzerwagen. This is an armored car that was built in Austria in the mid-30s, and the Germans took over and used it. They used it through the beginning of the war, and then for partisan activities in the Balkans, Yugoslavia, and the 7th SS used them a lot. The kit is really nice. Instructions are good. Comes with rubber tires, which I like. You'll see later in the video. Everything's packaged nice. There wasn't any flash on it. There's a set of photo etched that comes with it. Parts are really nice for photo etched, and everything was really sharp and good. The clear parts are in there. I didn't have to use those on my build, but there's some clear headlights. I didn't find any flash whatsoever on the model, and I would highly recommend this model. It's up there with Tamiya's quality, and I think it turned out very, very well. So, that being said, let's get at it. Okay, we're at the point of construction of this model where you have to make decisions. Every time you work on an armor kit, you should get reference. I started getting a lot of reference on this pulling from the internet. This vehicle has an early war look and then a little bit later on in the war look. The first thing I noticed were the lights. The kit comes with these covers, protective armor covers, or I guess not really armor, but just protective covers to go over these lights. And if you look at photos, which I have a bunch of photos here that I have on the computer screen, there's some early ones with just the headlight, and then there's some that have a screen over a box, and the kit photo etch parts actually have the screen. So you could fashion that inside these boxes if you wanted. My references show kind of different setups. Some of them have like a little protective piece of metal around them, things like that. So I'm going to opt for the kit boxes, and I wanted to do a different setup marking than what the kit came, because the kit only comes with crosses. That's it. So what I did is I went online and started looking, and I got some star decals from the Balkans, 41 to 46. And this had some markings that I wanted. So a lot better looking, and it's the version that had those types headlights. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. The markings are a lot better. There's a few more of them. I think they're more interesting, and that should do it for the kit. The set's, and the set's really nice. It's got other markings for other vehicles. So hey, if I want to do something else one day, which kind of armored car is appealing. I wish I would have had the decals for the motorcycle, because I could use those a long time ago. But anyhow, and I did the boat. So that's how it works in armor modeling. You start accumulating stuff, and then you're like, I wish I had that. But that's it for the rest of the build. We've got the turret now all finished, and it's time to paint. So let's get at it. Okay, first step of painting. Everything's hit with flat black, and I use a flat black that I get at Home Depot. I've been using this forever. It's really cheap. It's great primer, and it works really well. I've been using it, and it dries really, really good. So that's my base coat for a Panzer Gray, and it's a good matte finish and a good primer coat. The wheels were also painted black, and I put them on a piece of cardboard with some blue tape just to hold them in place so that I could spray them. So that's the first part of the painting. I've started the painting process after priming, and I've hit the model pretty much with Dunkel Grau, which is Panzer Gray. Now I'm going to add a little bit of white to this and give it the highlight. So let's get at it. I've added the lightened highlight of Panzer Gray, Dunkel Grau, and white. So I've just hit mainly see the panels the most. I mean, and it kind of bleeds over, but I just concentrate on the panels. I concentrate on all the panels in the middles of them, and I concentrate on that so that way I get more contrast. The wheels hit a little bit, maybe not as much, because they're always a little darker from grime. And I'm going to add one more little paint technique here on the next airbrush, and then I'm done airbrushing. So that's the next step. One more step in airbrushing, and I'm done airbrushing.
Okay, next step in airbrushing, I added some like weathering color here to give some more contrast, because I like contrast, and to do this with pastels or washes just take a while, and I just wanted to get a little bit of some life to it and get a little more color in with the Panzer Gray. So what I did was using, this is pale brown, German pale brown, and I mixed it with my airbrush and I added a little more water to get a little thinner, and that way I didn't want it to go on thick. I just wanted to give it like a mist of the color. And I also did it to the wheels. So this gives a little more life to it, add some weathering to start, and next it's going to be decals. The star set decal set is really nice. Very thin decals. I've used them before. They're very good. Very detailed. Excellent decals. I used to spray the areas for the decal gloss. I don't even do that anymore. I just wet it with the microsol before I add the decal to it. Make sure there's no air bubbles underneath, and everything seems to be okay. Now, if I have a really rough Zimrit or lots of bolts and stuff like that, and the decals go after it, sometimes I will gloss coat that before, but I don't do that right now lately. So we'll see how these turn out. I think they'll be fine. And has something really interesting. This bottle of microsol I bought in the 80s. That's how long I've been doing this stuff, even before that. But yeah, I bought this in the 80s, and you can see it's about done. It's amazing how long this thing lasts. And I have built, if anybody knows how many models I've built in my lifetime, since the 80s, this thing's gone a long ways. I guess armor models don't have a lot of decals, so maybe that's one of the reasons. If I was an aircraft modeler or railroad, then I'd probably have gone through this for sure. But this has lasted. So let's finish up these decals. Okay, decals are on. Markings look really nice. And after the decals dried completely, I sprayed the model with Testor's Lusterless Flat. I've been using this stuff forever. Different can now, at least different graphics on the can. It used to be more of an olive green and black. Anyhow, I've used this product forever to coat my model before weathering. Now I will wait about 24 hours or more, and then I can start the weathering process as usual. Okay, for the tires, I like the rubber tires that come with these kits. A lot of modelers don't like them. I like them, and the reason I like them is because I can weather them with my pastels. So what you see here is I've ground up with a sanding stick some pastel color. That's pretty cool. Got
pastels in there, and if you want to do a little bit more, you can rub it in with this brush, and it's already, look how it's flattened the tire out. It's got a really flat finish, and the treads have pastel powder in between them. And wow, I'm telling you, it's pretty easy, pretty realistic actually. He takes the shine off the tires and puts everything in perspective there as far as the dirt. That is pretty cool. Add the rim to it, or the wheel. Get a little more of this dust, add it around here. Check it out, this thing's ready to go. Excellent. Okay, check it out. I've got the tires on the wheels and everything's glued on, and it's pretty realistic. Pastels really do a number on it. I think that's kind of cool. And it's easy. I don't have to paint the tires. I hate painting tires, especially this many. If it was just 4, who cares? But yeah, this is the way to go. And as you can tell, that those tires look pretty weathered, but yet not overdone. Real subtle, and the rest is going to be now oil washes and some other weathering I'll show you. I'm not going to want to get any of the terpenoid weathering washes or anything on the actual rubber tires, because I think, one, it'll change that weathering effect because it wets the pastels, and it's going to give it a different look. It kind of dries in there and looks like dried up mud. So I mean, there's different effects, but I don't think I would put the terpenoid on the rubber tire. It could affect it, cause it to crack or something. So I think it's best to leave that as is. Could be some of the disadvantages of rubber tires, but for my weathering, I like it. I end up doing it like this, and I think it's really cool. So, okay, next step, I got to paint the tools, the machine guns, any little details that need painting. I paint right on the model. All right, it is time to paint the tools and machine guns and anything else on here that needs painting besides pins or gray. When I started really getting into armor modeling, I bought Shepard Payne's book on armor modeling, and he said in there, if you can see it, you can paint it. And I've used that ever since. So if I can see it, I can paint it. Luckily, I've still got fairly steady hands, and I can do that. So I'm painting the machine guns and the I guess this is a 20 millimeter cannon, I think. Looks like, yep. And it gets painted black, and I've got some other mixtures here for the wood for the shovels, the axe, and I really think that's about it. That's going to have to be painted on here, so not too bad. So
And just acrylic paints, nothing special. And like I said, if you can see it, you can paint it. That's what Shepherd Paint said, so that's what I did. And it really helped when I started, for a couple years I quit doing armor models and I started painting figures when my eyes weren't so bad. So painting figures really helped me learn how to paint stuff if you can see it. And the other thing is, once you do the washes and start weathering, it kind of ties things in together really nicely. So if you mess up just a tiny bit, it's okay in some of this. You don't have to worry about painting like underneath the stuff because you're not going to see it. And when you put a wash on there, it's going to kind of get under the cracks and crevices. So there's not a problem in painting, in painting it and then not seeing it. Because the weathering process kind of fills in all the voids of, with dirt and grime and stuff for the weathering. But you'd be surprised how well you can do this. See, I painted the shovel there and the pick, machine guns. There's another machine gun here. So now, when I talked about the tires earlier, weathering them, most of you guys, you can leave them off. I put them on. You can leave them off and put those on last, just if you're afraid of messing something up. Especially when I go to put a wash on the wheels, I don't really want it to get on the tires. And it would have been better to lave those off and, put the tires on the wheels last. I still could have weathered them like I did with the pastels, but I didn't put them on last, weather like that. So that's something you can do. But anyhow, okay, I just did the machine guns and they're black. That's done. And all I have to do now really is just paint the wood on the shovel and the pick. It's pretty easy. This is if you looked at my step-by-steps years ago that I had, the PDFs, which one day I'll talk about those, what happened, and I'm gonna try to put all those into videos, but I'm gonna condense them into like British and German and dioramas, figures, whatever, and put those, condense them into just one video each. So that way it's not just all these little short videos. But in my step-by-steps, it was very repetitive, and people had said, well, these are just the same thing over and over. Well, I mean, if you want the same results, you do the stuff over and over again, the same way, and you get the same results. That being said, I did change things up here and there, and I've learned some stuff. The first step-by-steps, I was using enamel paints because that's what I had, and I used them up, and then I went to acrylics, which is better, and I like it. I like acrylics way better. I don't think anybody uses enamels that much anymore. Just way better to airbrush them and everything. So, and the smell and the fumes and stuff that's bad for you. So okay, so the shovel's painted now. I just did a wood color there, which is I think it's called Russian tan, and then the black is just black, flat black. I put a couple other colors in here. There's a in my palette there, there's a German camo pale brown, which I'm going to kind of add a little bit around on these shovels just to give it a little more life. Make sure I thin it down some, because I'm going to Just put it over. Just to give it a little more life so it's not just one color on the wood. And really thin this down. And I'm kind of adding it just in some places, especially like around the edges here, just to give it some different tones. Fill in some cracks here. And yeah. Okay. So machine guns, 20 millimeter gun, black, shovels black, and the wood, kind of a wood color. I'll go back over the black of the shovel, the pick, and these machine guns and finish painting those pencil lead for the guns and rust and a little bit of shine on the pick and shovel. And that's it for that. I'm done with the detail painting of the shovel and machine guns. So you can see the finished results of just the painting. This is really simple. As you can see, there's the shovels. And once again, once I do the other weathering, when the wash is around them, it's gonna really tie everything together. So I'm pretty happy. This is a really good kit. I'm gonna compare it to a Tamiya. Hobby Boss did a really good job with this one. I've built other Hobby Boss models, and they've been very well engineered and put together, so and went together well. And this one's no exception. So this one's I like Hobby Boss maybe a little bit better than DML Dragon. So nice kit. All right, let's move on now. I'm gonna put a wash together and things are really gonna start changing. It's time to start the main weathering process now for this build. I always start with a wash, and first thing is pour some terpenoid into a cup to create the wash from these two products here. This is at Abteilung 502 artist oils. You can use regular artist oils if you want. My friend Rick Lawler sent me these probably over 10 years ago, and this dark brown is obviously the one I use the most for washes. It's very dark brown, and I don't even, the label's gone, so I'm not sure, but I remember it was very dark brown. And this one here is a light rust brown. So I've got those two on a piece of cardboard. They don't really have a lot of linseed oil in them, I guess because they're so old. But that's where I'm going to start. So let's get at it. All right, let's start this off. I'm going to put a little bit of the dark brown umber oil paint into this little tray. Have it ready. Put it here. Now we're gonna work, let's work on this area. I'd say right here for right now. I'm putting some terpenoid on it. This whole area. Just get some on there. Not a lot, just a little bit. Get it kind of damp. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna get some terpenoid on my brush here. Put it into this and start kind of getting a little bit of a wash going on here. So I can manipulate it in here whether I want more or less. So I don't make the whole wash. I just start using a little bit of the oil paint, and then I start going over like that. You can let it run down. I just get it to where it goes over the whole thing, but I really concentrate around these parts here. It's going to accumulate there too. So there you go, see? And then you can get a little bit more there on hinges, cracks, and bolts, things like that. You can always add a little more and just keep working your way down and get a little bit more turpenoid, put it on there, start working these areas. I put it on the whole model, even the flat surfaces, because it'll give it a dirty, worn look and gives it a lot of life with those little tones in there. The muffler's going to get a different treatment later, but I'm just kind of getting all this other up here, just whole flat surface. It's fine. Gives it some dirt and grime. And keep working it around to the corners, because that's where Mother Nature's gonna make this stuff go from the elements. And if there's too much, you get too much. Let's add more turpenoid, thin it out on the model. Around here, this thing looks like it maybe it was for a spare tire. I don't know. There wasn't any extra tires in here, but so that's how I do my wash. And now later I can come back and put more in certain areas if I want it, to highlight nuts and bolts, hinges, cracks. That looks really good there. So there. It's not hard. And it's better to put less than more, so you can always come back and put, okay, I can't see that. It's better to put less than more, because you can always go back and put more. So, work left-handed here. Put some on the this flat surface here. Just kind of get some turpenoid on it. And put the wash in here. Look at it. That's what you want. You want it kind of get of a stain. And I guess this is, I've seen modelers call it a filter maybe, because it kind of puts a transparent coat. But that looks really cool. See it on top there. Yeah. That's what you want. You want it to really accumulate around these rivets, cracks. And as I said, do a little at a time. And if you want more, then you can add more later. But I really want in these cracks. These bolts a little more. Rivets, whatever they are, probably rivets. Could be bolts. Yep. So there. See, it just really gave it a real good stain over the whole vehicle. I like it. This one's gonna really look good, I think. I'm really liking how this build's coming out. Panzer Gray is one of the easiest tank colors to paint. Get on these jerry cans, and even though it's very simple, one color, it really looks really good when you weather it. Panzer Gray. I like, to be honest, I know camouflage, especially 3-tone, looks really cool, but man, when you weather a Panzer Gray vehicle or an armored dark yellow vehicle without the camouflage, and you do this weathering, everything on the model stands out. I really like doing vehicles that don't have camouflage for this reason, because all the little details really just stand out, whereas the camouflage does its job. It kind of hides, breaks everything up so it doesn't look as uniform, and you don't see all the little details that the vehicle has, these little nuts and bolts and stuff. They're kind of hidden by the, yeah, that's starting to look really, really good. Put some on here. I mean, you can use the same brush, doesn't matter. But yeah, start at the top, let it roll down, let it come down naturally. Sometimes you can put a little bit, just let it fall. Yep. And if you get too much, I work it around into the cracks, bring it up, bring it down here, just giving it that weathered look, like it's got dirt and grime. It's just kind of sat on the vehicle and it's worn in now. This is one of the most enjoyable parts of the build for me, is just doing these washes, just sitting here seeing everything come to life. I really like it. I'm sure most modelers like this part too. I hate the monotonous stuff, like painting road wheels when you got, 8 road wheels on one side and things like that. Ugh. I don't mind painting 1 or 2, but when it gets to be more than that, ugh. There, some places a little bit more. Look at that. That is cool. And since the model's already wet, you can see I'm putting some here. And if it looks like too much, scoot it around, get it in there. If it doesn't look good, just put some turpenoid on it or move it around if you don't like it. Less is more. Right in here, it's pretty cool. Yeah, there you go. That's gonna be good. Okay, for the sides, I tilt the model up like this, so that way it's not just totally standing straight up, so that way I can get the wash on a flatter surface. I don't want to get any turpenoid on the tires, so take care of that. And then a little bit of wash on here, and then start. Same way as I did the other parts. And remember, less is more. So that's what I'm doing here. And sometimes streaking down is good. Just want to make it look right though. Real supple. Okay. Okay, here's a good effect that I do, and I actually put too much rust, this light rust color. I'm not going to use that much, at least not right now that I think of it. But I make a little bit of a wash of it, and say on some of these corners, I want to put it before I do scratches. There's not enough there. So wherever I'm going to put a scratch, I want kind of a place where it looks like it's rusted. And the rust will have like a really dark scratch in the middle, and then it like bleeds out the rusted areas. So I want to do that here on this section here and here. I just want it to look stained right now. Just a stain of rust, because when I start doing some chipping just with the brush, it'll have it like it rusted right here. So I'll do that like on these edges. I know if when I put some chipping, it's gonna look like it rusted out. So we'll let this dry and I'll show you that in a minute and put some more on here. Okay. So now that the rust tone has dried, I can go in and let's get a little bit of this dark brown burnt umber, and I can put some chips right in the centers of the rust, and that's going to make it look like the rust has bled out from the initial scratches there. See? Just barely getting some paint on there. Just on the edges, see? Yeah. And here are the scratches that are rusted. It's pretty convincing. The more subtle you make them, the better. I've also used that small brush in the burnt umber, dark brown, whatever you want to call this, for scratches on the model. You can make small scratches too, other places without the rust, and definitely places where it's going to scratch edges of metal that get worn a lot, places like that. But here's some scratches here. It's coming out pretty good. I like it. The only thing I haven't done is I didn't put a wash inside these wheels. I'm gonna put a little pin wash around the bolts, and that's about it for that. And then we're gonna weather the muffler. Okay, here we have some ground up pastels. I've got a rust color and an olive green color. So for the muffler, and get a little bit of turpenoid, make like a little bit of a wash here. Now if you've dealt with pigments, if you bought pigments, you know you can make washes out of them or use them dry, and they look different dry or wet. So I'm going to put this on the muffler here, and just certain spots here where it's going to rust around the edges, and that is going to look pretty cool when it dries. And I'm not going to put it on this band, I'm going to just put it around the band here. Yeah, just a little bit. And I'm going to put some here. A little bit, and some on the pipe, just a little bit, and maybe a couple dots here and here, maybe here, just there. Now, okay, make sure it goes underneath. All right, let's let that dry. All right, it's dry. Check that out. It's kind of cool. The thicker you make the wash with the pastels, and the effect it's going to get. You can make it lighter, darker by just putting more pigment in there. I'm going to actually add a little bit of this green now to the rust, just to give it some life. And I'll put some of that on there too. It's something I started doing in my step-by-steps with the German tracks. I put a little green in it. I probably got a little much, but we can always go back. Put some more red in there. And tone it down here. And it's a little bit too much. We'll see how it looks when it dries, though. Get a little more red in there with it. Rust color. Yeah. Yep. All right, we'll let that dry. Okay, it's dried and it's looking kind of cool. What I would do now is go back with the dark umber oil paint and do those scratches. Yeah, there you go. Get some in here. I mean, you gotta do really small for it to look right. But yeah, there you go. And it starts looking really realistic. You know, you gotta use an OptiVisor when you work on these things, because with close-up photography, every little thing shows nowadays with our models, and photography's half the battle with models. The guys that stand out, they know how to take good photographs, but they also know that photographs are your worst enemies, because you see every little little mistake that you make. So you got to work with Optivisor, no matter if you like it or not. Because I see photographs. I'll take little photographs with my phone here, and man, everything shows up wrong that I did. So there you go. There's the muffler. I'm gonna call that a wrap on that muffler. I need to put a little bit of black pastel at the end of the pipe, and I think that'll be it for that. Cool. I added a little bit more chipping around the rust on the muffler, and right now I'm going to a little bit of black pastel and just work it in here as so. And that takes care of the muffler. I want a dry effect on here, but get it inside that really good. There. Yep. That's pretty cool. For the pick and the shovel, I'm going to do a little bit of this rust color. It's very subtle. And put it at the end of the shovel here. Not the tip, because that gets worn. I'm going to do a little at the back end here, and a little bit at the back end of the pick. And that's it. And just make sure that that blends in really good with some clean terpenoid. Yeah, that'll do it. Now we're getting to the final touches. I use a pencil lead for shiny parts like machine guns. 20mm cannon. I just rub it on. A lot of guys will make powder out of this, put it on with a brush. You can do that. It's fine. I just do it this way. Always have. Just gotta be careful not to break the gun. Don't press too hard, but you shouldn't have to. Yeah. And then on the shovel, what I do is I just get the tip, just a little bit of the tip, and that takes care of the shovel. Just around the edges of it. Yeah. You can do a little bit here and on the edge here. Yeah, there you go. Same thing with the pick. It's the edges. Give it some life. There you go. We're getting down to the final stages of this one to be almost done. Looking forward to it. This is the last stage of my weathering on this vehicle. I've got some of the pastels that I used on the tires because I want to incorporate that onto the vehicle, but not a lot. I want it real subtle. So I'm really thinning down some of this pastels that we used way at the beginning on the tires dry. Now I've got it wet. And I'm just gonna hit some areas like here where dust will accumulate around places. And not everywhere. Yes, to some of the corners and cracks. Mixing the terpenoid with the pastel. And I'm gonna give it a little bit of places here, as I said, where dust will accumulate. But I want it real subtle.
and not the whole way, and it'll work its way up through some of the areas here, you know, because dust gets everywhere, and just adds a little more life to your model. But a lot of guys overdo this, and they put too much dust, and it just takes away from the model. And see that? You want to barely see it because this stuff really will get dark as it dries. I've learned to put it very subtle. And if you put too much, you get your terpenoid and yeah, spread it out. And sometimes this will leave like a tide mark, so you might have to just put terpenoid everywhere, and it keeps that from doing that. And see, I've got some places here, and I'm going to put some places where they may walk on the vehicle. And you don't want to see a lot of it when you put it on, because when it dries, it stands out. You'll see in a moment. So I'm just going to put it in certain areas. It gives like a filter over the other stuff, other weathering, and really, I guess it's like a filter, and just gives it a really good effect. Adds more life because you're putting more colors, but you're doing it very subtle. So it's pretty cool. Works out really well in the cracks and around these places where it's going to accumulate. It's going to accumulate in the cracks, crevices all around the vehicle from dust and then the rain sticking it in the corners. Yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be really good. And you can do this as much or as little as you want. It's a great effect. And like I said, don't do a ton of it. It's just very little bit. Some guys probably walk up here. And I just don't want any tide marks. Okay. Now the shovel can get a little tiny bit on it too. It covers up the rust a little bit, and it makes a really cool looking effect. So yeah, this kind of stuff really makes a difference. You just go the extra mile. The kit comes with 2 jacks, and I left that one out just to give it some interest. And I'm gonna put more dirt right here. It's like they lost this jack. And yeah, I'll put some on the other jack. Just to give it some life. Yep. I'm gonna start seeing some tide marks. So I just put some more terpenoid. Sometimes it gets a tide mark where it starts drying. So if you start getting that, I just add some more terpenoid around it, clear one, and it just blends everything together. Gets rid of those tide marks. And as you can see, it's already dried over here. And
And if I see some places I don't like, I'll get back on there. Red the terpenoid so I can smooth it out, blend it. Yeah, see, it's too much right here. I don't like the way that looks, so I'll just go like that. Yeah, there you go. See, there's some tide marks right here. Let's get over it. That'll dry. I just really believe in weathering over a matte finish. It just seems to really get realistic here. Look at that. That looks kind of cool. Yeah. And this just ties it in with the ground color and the tires. So that's what you want. Yep, that's what you want. There you go. I think I'm going to do a little bit of this on in the wheels around the lug nuts, and I'm going to call this guy done. So you can put some here too. Around these places. And you don't hardly see it, but boy, when it dries, you'll see it. Gives it a little bit of life from the weathering. So what I was saying is, for the lug nuts, I'm just going to put a tiny little bit around them in here. And see, that's a lot. That's way too much. I want to have to get more terpenoid in there, because when it dries, it looks darker. So, all right, we'll let this dry up, and I will show you the final piece when it's all done. All right, here's the final model, completed, weathered, and I am really happy with it. The Hobby Boss kit is an excellent kit. Like I said, I'll put it up there with Tamiya's. Everything went together really well, and I'm really satisfied with this kit. The weathering, you can see my weathering process. I think it turned out pretty cool. You can see the dirt just on top, gathered, there from walking on it and just wind blowing it up there. But I don't really put any on the sides because it gets washed off. Now, I probably could have streaked some down, and I still could do that. That's one thing about weathering once you're done. Like right here, it's too much right there. And if you get too much, you can kind of rub it away, or get the terpenoid and take it off. But I didn't like that. That doesn't look good. But I did want to show you how you can rub some off. So the pastels are really cool when you do them dry or wet. I really like the way they came out on the tires. It's pretty realistic, and I like it. The rust came out pretty good. I'm happy with that. And overall, the markings, I was really happy with these markings from Star Decals. They look really nice. Went on good. Changes the model a lot from just having crosses on there. So it's pretty cool. Really nice kit. Really nice. I hope this helps in learning weathering. I've been doing this a long time, so these techniques. Took a while. I've changed some things here and there, but pretty happy. I'm pretty happy with the way it came out. So anyway, I may or may not do a scene for this one. It's kind of big and I don't really want to do huge dioramas, but I might do a scene for it and do a YouTube video for that as well. So we'll see. But anyway, M35 medium armored car. It's pretty cool. Nice kit. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for more of my videos. I'm gonna start putting them out, and I'm gonna make my older step-by-steps into videos, throw them in sequence, and maybe add some more to them. Not sure yet, but stay tuned.